All right, everyone. Good morning. Thanks for joining us on First Alert Weather Plus. I am First Alert Meteorologist Courteney Jacobazzi. Of course, we have been talking about the big day today. Not only is it 404 day, not to be downplayed, okay? 404, of course, the Atlanta area code. So today, if you numerically write the date, 404, lots going on for that. But lots going on in Cobb County with the Braves home opener tonight. And you can watch it on Peachtree TV. Don't forget, if you didn't get a ticket to the game, you don't want to go out in the heat and humidity, then you can watch it from the comfort of your home for free, thanks to a partnership with our parent company, Gray Media. Really, really excited about that. As a Braves fan, it has been really frustrating the last few years to not be able to watch so many of our favorite games. So it really is a treat, especially to watch the home opener. We are going to win, okay, guys? I know we've been off to a rough start, but it's all right. We're going to start tonight, clean slate, and only up from here, right? So we've been talking about how the weather is going to be great for the games today and tomorrow. So if you're headed out to the game tonight for the home opener or tomorrow night for the series against the Marlins, temperatures in the mid-80s at first pitch, and then temperatures will drop into the mid-70s, leaving Truist. So you don't need a jacket at all. You don't need the umbrella either. You'll maybe notice a little bit of mist today and tomorrow. We'll see those partly to mostly cloudy skies. And so we might have a little bit of kind of a misty feel here and there the next couple of days, but no physical rain and storms falling. Sunday, that's the different story. Unfortunately, I do think there's going to be a rain and storm delay. If not, get that game canceled and rescheduled for another time. That is our first alert weather day. It is going to be a pretty rainy and stormy day. It has been a rainy and stormy day for about 3 days now out to our west in parts of the plains, the Mississippi River Valley, the Midwest. The weather has been crazy across the lower 48. We've had severe weather, over 200 tornado warnings issued within just one day the other day. And then there's ice storms up in the Great Lakes. Crazy weather. And we have not had to deal with any of that. And the reason there's been this prolonged severe threat out to our west is because of this ridge of high pressure. You see that H there? We call that the Bermuda High. It sits out over the Atlantic Ocean, very close to Bermuda, and it grows really strong as we start to warm up in the summer months. And it's already proving to do so. In fact, so strong that what it's doing is almost creating a force field over the southeast. And that high has been pushing that front that you can see stalled there to our north and west. It has been pushing that front away from us and just keeping it at a standstill. So in the upper levels of the atmosphere, you have the jet stream. The jet stream is trying to push that front closer to us, but that high is so strong, it's not allowing it to. So you have kind of the battle of two forces there, and that high is winning, keeping areas to our west underneath that severe threat. We're talking long track tornadoes, flash flooding, damaging straight line winds. And in fact, right now, as we are recording this at 11, there's severe thunderstorm warnings going on in Arkansas right now. Last night in Tennessee, handful of tornado warnings. So we are thinking about our neighbors to the west. But thankfully for them, not so much thankfully for us, that ridge of high pressure is eventually going to break down, and that's when storms will make way into North Georgia. So I know that just moved pretty fast, but that high is going to break down going into Saturday, and then that's going to allow for that front, another front that's out to our west, to move in. We'll start to see showers and storms in far northwest Georgia as early as like 9, 10 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. And then showers and storms start to move through metro Atlanta between about 11 and 2 o'clock, and then continue to slowly push east through the evening. So that high pressure is not going to completely break down. And so that's going to actually make this front move pretty slowly as it moves through the area. We'll first originally get a line of storms out ahead of the front. And along that line of storms is where we'll be watching for maybe some isolated severe storms. Not super impressed with the severe weather setup with this system, thankfully. There's a lot of ingredients that have to come together for severe weather to be a huge concern. And while with these particular lines of storms that will come in ahead of fronts, we call them MCSs, mesoscale convective systems. Say that 5 times fast. It's your fancy weather word of the day. They're essentially just waves of energy that will push out ahead, eject out ahead of a cold front. And along those, you'll typically get damaging straight line winds, heavy rain, and frequent lightning. Occasionally, if the conditions are right, you could get a brief spin up tornado. And we are watching for that mainly south of Atlanta. So if you live in Troup, Meriwether, Heard, Butts County, Henry County, Spalding County, Lamar, Upson, We could unfortunately be watching for a brief isolated tornado for you. It does look like as that front's kind of starting to move in, it's going to be prime time Sunday afternoon and evening. I think that threat mainly comes in after like 3 o'clock on Sunday and goes into the evening hours. Very isolated threat for a tornado, but that's as that front is coming in. That's just going to add a little extra lift to the atmosphere and allow for that extra kind of boost that you need to have severe weather. So we will be watching that really carefully on Sunday night. We'll have a team here all day Sunday, starting in the morning through the evening hours. Thankfully, even though rain is more than likely going to stick around into the evening and overnight hours, Sunday into Monday, the severe weather threat will diminish late in the evening on Sunday. So this isn't going to be an overnight threat for us. While you might still hear some rumbles of thunder, we're not expecting severe weather overnight Sunday into Monday. I think that main time frame as of right now will be between about like 3 and 8 p.m. for maybe an isolated severe storm. Don't get me wrong. When we have these lines of storms come through like this ahead of cold fronts, they can definitely pack a punch. They usually will stay below severe limits as it's moving in. You're not going to see a whole line of severe storms, but a few isolated severe storms are possible across all of North Georgia, because sometimes when these lines of storms, these little waves of energy move in, they can pack a punch if they go into the right atmosphere. And we are going to have warm weather out ahead of this, and that is fuel for storms, right? That's why springtime can get a little volatile, right? Because we start to warm up. So essentially, we have that line of storms coming in ahead of our cold front. Isolated severe storms are looking possible to likely for us. I don't think it's going to be a widespread severe threat for us, but all of us can expect gusty wind, heavy rain, frequent lightning as that main line comes through ahead of our cold front. However, that isolated tornado threat exists mainly south of I-20. So if you live south of I-20, and I really think right now where the prime ingredients are coming together for everything to kind of match up and start spinning is going to be south of Carroll County in our counties like Troup, Meriwether, again, Lamar, Upson, Pike County, Butts County. We're going to be watching you carefully because I think there's just a little extra spin there for these storms to take advantage of on Sunday. Once that ridge breaks down, not only does that kind of act like a force field to keep us mostly dry and protect us from storms, and it has been protecting us from a very violent storm system, it also makes us warm. Underneath a ridge of high pressure, air sinks. When air sinks, it warms. And as soon as that weakens, that's going to allow the jet stream to dip south and pull in that cold air that's bringing the ice storms to our north and the Midwest. So if you have anything planted, I know a lot of you have planted your spring gardens already. Just know if you live north of Atlanta on Wednesday, some of you could flirt with freezing temperatures Wednesday morning. Yeah, have the coats on standby. I hate to say it, as much as it hurts my heart to tell you that, because I am enjoying the 80s, even if it comes with some humidity, okay? Because temperatures are about to drop. So we're looking at record heat today and into the upcoming weekend, and then temperatures will really take a nosedive into next week. Not only will our high temperatures drop big time, our overnight low temperatures are. So where our low temperatures are right now for this morning, from this morning into Saturday and Sunday, that's where our high temperatures are going to be next week, just to kind of give you some perspective on that. So once that front moves through, that ridge breaks down, we have the storms come in, we'll have a huge dip in the upper levels of the atmosphere that's going to pull in cool air from the north, and we're talking about morning lows in the 30s and 40s. Yes, I know. Have the coats on standby. And on Wednesday morning, that's the morning where I do think north of the city, up towards the mountains, the foothills of the mountains, we'll have to watch for maybe some sort of freeze. Now, it does look like this cooler air is going to kind of settle in for a while. So here's a look at the Climate Prediction Center's outlook from April 9th to the 13th. So this goes into mid-month. I do think late month we'll start to see a nice warming trend return. But in the meantime, well below average temperatures. I think 60s for afternoon highs is going to stick around for a while. 40s in the morning, at least through next weekend. So of a pretty progressive upper level pattern that's going to bring in not only this weather system, maybe another late next week, and that's going to keep our forecast trending a lot cooler. So enjoy the 80s while they last. If it is your jam like mine, if you're loving this weather, hold on to it, because we have big changes after our first alert weather day Sunday. So great weather, mostly dry again. You might feel a little bit of mist out there the next couple of days here and there. Some of those clouds, while they're not necessarily rain clouds, they could produce like a little bit of drizzle. We'll have temperatures in the upper 80s the next couple of days. That is record heat today. Tomorrow it's close to record heat. And then Sunday's our first alert weather day. Rain as early as about 8, 9 o'clock in far northwest Georgia. Line of storms moves into North Metro around 11, moves into downtown between 1 and 2. Now this timing could very well change. These little ejections of storms, essentially, these little waves of energy out ahead of fronts, they could be tricky to forecast. So right now we're looking at a 1 to 2 p.m. time frame, which unfortunately is right at first pitch for the Braves game on Sunday. So again, more than likely, if that doesn't get rain delayed, it's going to get canceled. You'll want to keep updated on that if you have tickets for Sunday's game. But then rain will continue to linger into the evening and the overnight hours, even into Monday morning. Along that 85 corridor and south, that front's going to kind of slowly sink through the state. So we will keep a rain chance Monday morning, especially south of the city. Isolated severe storms, really important, are possible on Sunday. Most of us will experience that gusty wind, heavy rain, frequent lightning. However, a brief isolated tornado can't be completely ruled out in our southwestern counties. So we're talking Troup, Meriwether, Heard, anything basically south of I-20. We'll be watching really carefully for maybe a brief spin up. I do think that's where conditions are the most favorable for that threat. And then once we get rid of the rain, it's all about the colder temperatures. Highs only in the low 60s Tuesday, waking up in the low 40s. A lot of people Tuesday morning will wake up in the upper 30s, and then 39 for Atlanta. So you know what that means. Our suburbs will be even colder. You're going to need the coat Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday morning, with highs rebounding back into the upper 60s going into next week. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us here on First Alert Weather Plus to kind of explain to you why, our neighbors out to the west are unfortunately having a multi-day severe threat. Here at home, our weather is great. We have high pressure to thank for that. Whenever that's in control, it makes our weather really wonderful. But unfortunately, that's not lasting all that much longer. And important to note, have that First Alert Weather app handy, especially going into the weekend. I know we disconnect on the weekend, but don't disconnect from the weather, especially with the rain and storms incoming on Sunday. That First Alert Weather app will keep you updated all weekend long on not only the forecast, but it will give you alerts to your phone if any severe storms do occur on Sunday. Make it a wonderful Friday, everyone. Go Braves, and we'll catch you here next time.